And when you donate to charity, where does that money really go? We'll get to the bottom of it all with an author of the book, Charity on Trial. How much money did you donate to charity this year? More importantly, do you have any idea where that money actually goes? Author Doug White is out with a new book that you'll want to pick up and read before you write that next check. The book is called Charity on Trial. Doug White is here with us now. And Doug, this is really a fascinating read. And there's a lot to cover, but I did want to go to page 175 because I thought this was just unbelievable. And this is, of course, the items that the storm victims needed.
Oh, yes.
The list, the item, juice. How much in the warehouse stock? 0. Feminine hygiene items, 0. General hygiene items, 0. Household cleaning items, 0. Gatorade, 0. Insect repellent, 0. Who are we talking about here? Who didn't have this on hand?
The Red Cross didn't have it on hand. It's amazing to confuse juice with Clorox. It was just a botched up show, no matter how you cut it. They'd come off the 9/11 problem. I think they had dealt with their problems, and then Katrina came along, and they had a whole separate set of problems, and the local people just were not tasked to do a good job. It was just a disaster.
And when we talk about the American Red Cross and we step back to 9/11, there was so much animosity about that, and you get into detail about some of these people. I mean, a guy walking in and literally writing a check for $10,000 right after the attacks. People wanted to give, and they were so angry with what the Red Cross did with that money.
As they should have been. They were told it would go to one thing, and they had an idea that it would go somewhere else. Now, that isn't such a bad thing, but they were being told it was going to go to this fund to help the 9/11 victims. Well, that money was not going to go there. The uproar came, and then that was changed. And I thought the Red Cross did a good job of stepping back and examining itself. Katrina comes along, not a donation problem, but just a product, a mission, a job kind of a problem. And the Red Cross just blew it. And that particular report, by the way, or that part of my book, was done because a report was leaked. It was done by the British people, the International Red Cross people, and the Red Cross did not want that out. And it was put into the newspapers, and then it became public knowledge.
We're getting towards the end of the year. This is the time when people pull out their checkbooks and start writing checks to charities. Any suggestions you'd give them?
Please understand better what you're giving to. I would tell anyone that it's not just a heartstring thing. I think that's the first question you have to ask. You're not going to give to something you don't care about. Understand that you are going to make a heartstring decision. But beyond that, find out about what the organization is doing.
How? That's the question a lot of people are going to say.
Well, that's a very complicated question. One is, there is information that all charities send to the IRS, almost all charities. Knowing what that information shows is very helpful. There are places that evaluate that information. It's only financial information, don't get me wrong, but it's helpful. And Charity Navigator and GuideStar are a couple of organizations that help do that. But beyond that, you should talk to the people who are working at the charity. You should look at their annual report. You should ask them this question: what would happen to this community if you closed your doors tomorrow? In other words, what relevancy do you bring to all of us? If they cannot answer that question, they haven't given enough thought as to why they exist. They don't deserve your support.
We're just about out of time, but I know you went into this probably with some ideas. Surprised at some of the things you found, or pretty much on target?
No, I was terribly surprised. I have been in the charity world for over 30 years, and most of the people I talked with were very outgoing, very friendly, very warm, welcoming. They wanted to be scrutinized. When I got into the charities around the country, I found that was not the case universally. They were very secretive. They wanted to keep their stories closed, and that's why you have these scandals that I describe in those first 4 chapters.
And we do have time for perhaps one more question, the Princeton deal. Talk to me about that, because that one has gotten a lot of press. This family very upset about how the money's being spent. Do you expect this to be a trend where people are going to say, hey, I want accountability. I said I'm giving you this money for this. You're not doing it.
I think that's going to be a huge trend as time goes on. Charity is no longer just that quaint place where we all give as much faith as we can to the organization. The Princeton case just went to trial. It just started about a week ago. It'll be interesting to see how that comes out. Actually, I think Princeton has a strong case. I really don't think they are as bad at having changed the direction of the original donor's ideas as some charities have gotten. Although it's extremely interesting, and the donor, it's the son of the donor, actually, who's bringing the charges, is very, very adamant.
Doug White, Charity on Trial. Great book. Pick it up. Up next on 9 News Now.